In this video, I'm going to talk to you about a little known feature on the Sunsynk 3.6 inverter that could nearly double how much energy you draw from your solar panels. Sounds too hard to believe? Well, it is real, but it works only in certain conditions and with some settings. And if you're like me and you discovered this late in the game, I hope you can walk out of this video with actionable steps to go and reconfigure your system and make the most of it the way I did. Or if you're planning to install a new system, this will help you make the best decisions and realize the potential of that system from day one. Alright, so let's look at this. As I said, there are some caveats, so I'm gonna start with that first, so that you know that this video is for you or maybe not. In order to get the most out of this system, which means your 3.6 inverter can convert 7 kilowatt peak solar energy into usable energy, you need to have two conditions. Number one, you need to have an oversized solar array. What does that mean? It means that the solar panel's capacity to generate energy is larger than your inverter's capacity to convert it into AC. In my case, for example, I have 3.8 kilowatts peak on the garage and I have another 3.2 kilowatts peak on the solar gazebo. So I have nearly 7 kilowatts peak capacity connected to a 3.6 inverter. Well, this doesn't add up, and you will see why later on when I explain to you a bit more about why I went into oversizing. But for the time being, just consider this: you need to have this condition. And the second condition is you need somewhere to dump DC. Most common thing to dump DC in is DC batteries. In my case, I have a 15 kilowatt hour battery connected to the Sunsynk inverter, and this works perfectly for this setup. Alright, now that you know that this system is for you or not, or maybe you're considering to have an oversized array and a battery, I'll take you to the next steps. But first, let me try and explain a little bit more about why would you go with a 3.6 inverter in the first place and why oversizing is so important, especially in countries like the UK where I live. So first of all, I started with a 3.6 inverter, and many other people do for the same reason, because it's much easier on the regulation side. In the UK, if you're connecting a 3.6 inverter, 3.6 kilowatt inverter to the grid, you go for a speedier and easier process called the G98 notification form to your district network operator. The other option is you go with a larger inverter and you connect more than 3.6 kilowatt, in which case you go with a thing called G99, and in that case it's a more involved process and you may have to provide more documents. So that's number one. The other thing is the oversizing. Now, oversizing is important, especially in countries like the UK when we've got decent conditions in the summer but really horrible conditions in the winter for generation, and anything in between in the autumn and spring. In that case, our solar panels cannot produce their maximum or their peak capacity through a large portion of the year. Therefore, the more panels you add, the more chances you have of getting some decent output from your solar panel system and inverters. Therefore, installers in the UK will generally put slightly more than your inverter is rated for, and DIYers like me have pushed this to different limits. Like, for example, I have nearly double of what my inverter can produce connected to it in solar power, in peak solar power. Right, so all that said, let me tell you about this setting and how it came to be. When I first started, I opted for the 3.6 inverter for two reasons. The Sunsynk 3.6 was so versatile, it still is, and it's such an amazing piece of kit, and you can configure so many things with it. It can charge batteries, it can connect generators, it's awesome. And all of that packed into a tiny package, and very easy to install and very easy to work with. And the other thing about it is it was within the 3.6 kilowatts that would let me to go with the easier registration process. So fast forward a few months and I registered my system for export as well. At that point I could now push all the energy I can generate from the panels into the grid and get paid for it, which was a real incentive for me to expand the system further into solar gazebo, where I added more solar panels so that I can compensate for the months in the autumn and the spring and the winter where I don't really get much from my panels on the garage. So all of that put together and led to this spring where I realized, hold on a minute, I've got so much more capacity that I'm seeing from my inverter. And then I started looking into the settings of the Sunsynk. And this was prompted by a video I watched where somebody from Sunsynk explained that you can actually connect 7,000 peak watts of solar to this little 3.6 inverter. And that got me thinking, I'm pretty sure something doesn't add up, because in my system I have nearly that, but I'm not seeing the benefits that I'm supposed to see. And namely, that's being able to use all the power from the panels to dump DC straight into the battery and use the rest of the DC energy to convert and sell onto the grid or use in your house. Basically use it as AC. So I started looking through my settings and I found it. It's a setting on the advanced settings of the Sunsynk inverter where you have to go and configure the maximum DC input for the inverter. It's a really cool feature. It can protect your inverter from drawing more than you need it to draw, and I'm pretty sure when I first set up my system, I just set it at the top of what the system was at that time and did not realize I hadn't reconfigured it as I expanded. So fast forward to today, I have done this setting already. I have played a little bit with the battery to find a day that I can get to around noon with still capacity left in the battery, and I recorded it. And here it is. You can see that my inverter is now converting 4.1 kilowatts of peak energy from the panels as it's charging the battery, and also it's selling energy to the grid, as you can see. So this has been a huge success for me, and I'm really happy to share it with you, and I hope that if you're in the same situation as I was, you can go and reconfigure your Sunsynk inverter and get the same benefits. If you did that, please share a screenshot with me in the comments. I'll be super excited to see that, and I'm also very interested in how other people come with ways to dump the DC, because I'm using the batteries as an example because they are a really popular way of using DC energy directly, but I'm pretty sure there are other things that people are using, like for example battery chargers for EVs. I hope this video helped you. Thank you for watching. Bye.